Cult of Chucky is a 2017 horror movie directed by Don Mancini, and it stars Alex Vincent, Brad Dourif and Fiona Dourif. We are on to the last movie in the franchise, the original franchise, before the remake comes out next week. Obviously we've got other sequels and a TV series that are set for this original franchise, but this is the last so far. Chucky returns to terrorise his human victim Nika. Meanwhile, the killer has some scores to settle with his old enemies with the help of his former wife. Before going into this movie, I had high hopes for the first time since Bride of Chucky came out back in 1998. The success that I saw for Curse of Chucky, I thought they were going to bring that forward with Cult of Chucky. The reason being is we've got Don Mancini returning as the director, and we've also got Brad and Fiona Dourif returning with their respective characters. One thing this film done well was the callbacks to the previous movies, even the movies that Alex Vincent had nothing to do with. You've seen that Andy had his Kent Military Academy jumper in a frame, and even though he wasn't playing Andy in that film, it shows us that it's a continuation of all the original movies. I mentioned in my last review for Curse of Chucky that the actor Adam Hurtig was in that movie, and he's also in this movie. He plays Multiple Malcolm. I thought I was going to like the setting for this film. It's set in a mental home, so we're going to see mental patients seeing Chucky thinking that they're going to be crazy, and we did see that in the film. I think the movie was beautiful. The whole scenery was really nice, very aesthetically pleasing, some symmetry at points as well. So the way it was filmed with the building that they used was great, but I don't think the mental home was a good payoff. We're reintroduced to Tiffany again, and Nika mentions that she looks like Jennifer Tilly, just like we saw in Seed of Chucky when there was Tiffany and Jennifer Tilly as well. So again, they're bringing all the movies together. I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just mentioning the point that that's what they do in this film. Tiffany talks about Alice. At this point she mentions that Alice is dead. That is Nika's niece, because Nika assumed that Alice was fine. She was an orphan, but she went to live with foster parents, and that just happened to be Tiffany. So we find out from what happens at the end of Curse of Chucky. I mentioned in that review that we didn't know what happened to Alice. Did the curse work? Did it not? It turns out that it did work, because he did use Alice to kill people. Unfortunately, Alice was just a little girl. She couldn't fend for herself and she died. It wasn't Alice's anymore. It was obviously Chucky inside Alice. So that failed. So Tiffany was just coming to tell Nika that Alice had died, and also to smuggle in Chucky. There was some really horrible but beautifully shot death scenes in this film. Probably one of the best death scenes in the franchise. Some of the best death scenes in the franchise are in this movie. One of them being one that doesn't make sense. We had a character lying on an operating table, and above the operating table was this massive glass window. Now that doesn't make sense in a mental home, because anything can happen. Something could fall on top of that and hit somebody below. It just so happens that Chucky uses that to his advantage to kill one of the characters. But again, it was very beautifully shot with the snow coming down on the body. We shouldn't really like that because it's a death scene, but it was really well shot. At this point, the story has grown so ridiculously distant from the main characters like Nika and Andy Barclay that those characters are really irrelevant in this movie, or they should be irrelevant. But for some reason, Don Mancini tries to latch onto the past as well as bring the movies forward for other sequels. Now, there is a cult in this film where Chucky can take over multiple bodies, whether it be dolls or human beings. He just found out how he can do that. Over the past 6 movies before that, he was struggling to get access to one body to transform himself into a human. But in this movie, they just do it willy-nilly. He can take over bodies, he can take over live bodies at any point. It just seems like it's a lot more accessible for him to do it in this one movie than it was in the last 6 movies. I think all the inmates in the mental home were interesting. I just think they were portrayed badly by most of the actors in the film. Apart from Multiple Malcolm, I think that Adam Hurtig, who plays Multiple Malcolm, is a good actor. I don't think he belonged in a movie like this. This looked like a sci-fi channel movie yet again. A very cheaply made sci-fi movie that an actor like him doesn't deserve to be in. Everybody else looks like they're Z movie actors anyway, so they fit in this movie, but I don't know what it is about him. I think he was really charismatic and believable. There was a really stupid scene involving Andy and a security guard. He wanted to get in and see Nika, and the security guard wouldn't let him in, so he punched the security guard, and before you know it, he's been committed. He got committed for punching a security guard.
Boy, That escalated quickly.
A tribute to Evil Dead, now that's cool. The last 20 minutes go from ridiculous to downright insanely stupid. On a positive note, a lot less CGI was used than I first thought. When I seen this movie a couple of years ago, I thought there was a lot of CGI used. I don't know why I thought that, but when I watched it again, there was a lot less CGI in this movie than there was in Curse of Chucky, and I think that all the practical effects that they used in this film were really good. I think that the practical facial movements that they used for Chucky were probably the best in the franchise. It's a bit weird when Brad Dourif was now in his daughter's body when Chucky took over Nika. She oddly reminded me of Brad Dourif when he was in the first Child's Play with the long hair and the long jacket. I think that's obviously what they were going for. The whole taking over the bodies and the dolls multiple times in one movie is an interesting premise for a Child's Play movie. However, we are on the 7th Child's Play movie and this is the first time they're introducing it, so I think it was the wrong time to do it. I think because they didn't do it at all in the first 6 movies, they should have left that out. Don Mancini redeemed himself with Curse of Chucky, and I think most people would agree with that. He went back to the horror roots. He got rid of the silly Tiffany doll and he got rid of Jennifer Tilly until near the end of that movie. But what he done was, it's as if he thought to himself, no, I actually want to make a really bad Chucky movie. I was happy with Cedar Chucky. Let's go back to that kind of Chucky movie. So this movie was still a bit darker than the rest of the old movies, but he brought back Tiffany, he brought back the Tiffany doll, and Jennifer Tilly was in it a little bit more than I thought she should have been, and he just made it stupid again. The end credits scene involving Kyle was supposed to shock us and surprise us. It didn't shock me or surprise me one bit because we saw it happen in Curse of Chucky with Andy coming back. That was a one-time deal. We only needed to see that happen one time. So when we saw Kyle coming back, it was interesting because I've not seen her for a long time, but I wasn't shocked or surprised because I was expecting something to happen, and I was also expecting another character coming back, and when I saw Kyle I thought, oh well. Overall, I think Cult of Chucky was one of the weakest movies in the franchise. I was really expecting a lot from Cult of Chucky because of what we saw with Curse of Chucky. I don't know if maybe that's why I didn't like it at all, because I was expecting more from Cult of Chucky. I also think that Cult of Chucky was the nail in the coffin for the original franchise. Yes, they're going to be doing a TV series, and yes, they're going to be doing more movies for this particular franchise, for this particular timeline, but I think that because of what happened with Cult of Chucky sparked the remake. What do you think of Cult of Chucky, guys? Is it a good movie? Do you think it's better than Seed of Chucky? Personally, I think it's just a little bit better than Seed of Chucky, because Seed of Chucky, although it was a comedy, it knew what it wanted to be, whereas Cult of Chucky was so pretentious and it thought it was better than it actually was, and I think that's why I do hate it as much as I do. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again, thanks for subscribing, I'll see you soon, bye bye.